Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Again, I am Kaylee Batesman, the Managing Director, Community and Partnerships at She Can Code. And today we're discussing how to grow a strong company culture. What does it really take to build a strong company culture, one that actually lives beyond a slide deck? I've got the wonderful Nicky Saner, CEO of Chorus, with me today, and we're going to dive into the practical side of company culture, how to define meaningful values, embed them in everyday decisions, and keep them alive as your company grows. Welcome, Nicky. So lovely to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on and to chat about this subject. We would love to kick off with a little bit about you, if that's okay, to set the scene for our listeners.
Yeah, so I'm Nicola Saner, CEO of Chorus, as you mentioned. I've been at Chorus now for over 10 years. However, I actually originally started out in the fitness industry as a personal trainer and sports therapist. I did a lot of work around rehabilitation for frontal lobe brain damage. And that's where I really got into psychology. And one of my beliefs around running a business and culture is about the psychology and how to work with individuals and different diversities to make sure that you're getting what you need.
Right. I never know what people are going to say on here, Nicky, and you're the first to have told me your background into tech. And that's why this podcast exists, because we love to hear all of the different routes in and how people have transitioned for different industries into the tech industry. So can you tell me a little bit about what happened when you were younger that you something on here we always talk about is the lack of stereotypes and lack of visibility for the lack of mentors and role models to bring people into the tech industry. Was there something when you were younger that you saw that inspired you to think, I want to go into fitness, that's where I want to start? Like, who was your role model when you were younger?
I don't know if I really had a role model as such. You know, my dad was very much always, you can. We were never allowed to say in our house, you can't, because you can do absolutely anything. It's just how you go about it. And there's always very much just sort of saying yes to things and seeing where things take you. I got into fitness because I just love fitness. I was a synchronized swimmer, I was a speed swimmer. I was very into the fitness when I was at school, and that seemed like a natural kind of progression for me to go into the fitness industry. I love tech. I don't know if you remember. I mean, I remember, and showing my age, is the program Tomorrow's World.
Yes.
You remember that? So we used to sit as a family and watch Tomorrow's World and seeing all the different technologies, and it got me so excited about tech.
Yeah.
And I still reflect on that a lot. And I always think to myself, if they still did that program now, what would they be saying about tech in 10 years' time? My goodness, it's quite scary to think. So that's one of the things that's always been my fascination about tech. And the business side of things, it's more one of those things that I've always found people in psychology fascinating. So whether it was going into the fitness or whether it was going into running a business, it's always been about people and motivating people and achieving goals.
Yes, and that visibility, so important, you seeing that on a program and that inspiring you. Something I share a lot on here is when I was younger, I always wanted to be Kate Adie, the war correspondent, because she was on the news. And you see people on TV and they inspire you to think, actually, I'd like to look into a career in that. So seeing Tomorrow's World at least lit that fire under you. And then years later, you would move into the tech industry and feel at home, obviously.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot to talk about today, and you have a really varied career path as well. So, but I wanted to know, how have those different experiences shaped your approach to leadership and company culture today?
Gosh, there's so many different experiences. I mean, if we went all the way back to school, I was never academic. I was never the person getting the highest grades. I kind of struggled with sitting in a classroom and listening to people, and that was quite hard. But it has shaped me quite a lot to who I am today, because you get a lot of people who, you know, will say to me, well, where did you go to business? Where did you study business? What university were you at? And I did go to university, but full transparency, I dropped out after 2 weeks against my parents' Parents had to
So how did that go down?
it lands like a lead balloon, that one. But it goes to show that you don't have to have been to business school, and you don't have to have done these things. There are routes for absolutely everybody, but it's always that expectation that, oh, you've gone to business school, you've got all these degrees and everything like that. And no, I haven't. I've totally forgotten the question. Where was I going?
I told you it happens. We were talking about how those different experiences shaped your approach to leadership and company culture today.
Leadership and company culture. Okay, I'll go back to. Hang on, let me just have a quick think.
Do you want me to? I can pitch the question again. Sometimes that helps to clear people's minds, and then they're like, "Yeah, I'll just go in again."
Okay. Yeah.
You've had such a varied career path. How have those different experiences shaped your approach to leadership and company culture today?
So the different experiences have shaped so much. It's seeing the good, the bad, the ugly. It's seeing how different people have handled things, different people have approached things, and just being very observant and watching and going, is that what I think is the right way to do it? And coming from my fitness background of, is that how I would motivate that person for who they are to get the best outcome? And there's many different scenarios there. There's one, if I go back to school days, I wasn't academic. I wasn't the person getting the straight A's. I didn't go to business school, which everyone would think would be the right step. But I could go on to run a successful business. And that's something when I'm looking around and I'm hiring people and people within the business, they don't have to tick a box. They don't have to fit the ideal description that you need them to fit. Is about what is their attitude, what is their curiosity, what can they bring to the business. But I know I have to step outside of my box and my lane and think a little bit differently, into a different mindset, to know what can I get out of them and how can I get the most out of them, for them to be able to help us progress with our goals within the business.
Yes, and it's so topical at the moment as well, of university, and whether or not you need a degree is a question at the moment. With it's so expensive, and what you actually take from university. A lot of people do take a lot of experiences from university, not just their qualification, but it's so expensive nowadays. So are employers always looking for that degree? We have quite a range of community members in our platform who, some have very traditional computer science degree routes, and others have, we call them weird and wonderful routes into tech. And our partners that we work with, they still very much value those, how do you transition and use all of those skills that you learned in one industry to transition into the next, even if you're not techie or don't have the a computer science degree that you think you have to come into tech. So it's great to hear when employers are thinking that way. And I love the fact that you compared fitness to how to motivate people, because right, and the different ways that people are motivated. You must hear that as well with fitness as well. People must think, my brother and sister-in-law, they're runners, and I think you have this thought of like how people are and runners and the way that they do things and the way that they're motivated. And I look and I think that so doesn't motivate me to do fitness. Like, everybody is different in what they want to do. So that's one of those skills that you have managed to bring over to the tech industry, of being in leadership and thinking people are motivated in different ways, and it's not a one size fits all for everyone on your team.
Yeah, it's totally that, and it's not, because I think the very first thing, like when I was a personal trainer, I'd say to people, just put your gym kit on, just put the gym kit on. If I said to somebody, right, you've got to go and make £10 million now by selling IT managed services or cybersecurity or whatever else, they'd be like, whoa, how am I going to do that? But if you start off really small, I want you to make do a LinkedIn post today. Make 2 calls. The same thing with the fitness thing. That's what I learned from the fitness, was just put your gym kit on. And if you don't go out for a run, that's okay. Now, once actually got your gym kit on, it's most likely you're going to walk down to the gym, or you're going to go for a run. If you get your swimming costume on, under your clothes, you're like, well, you're going to go for a swim. So it's trying to break down into those small steps. And like you were saying with the degree versus those who don't, ones who might have a computer science degree, you know, when CVs come through the door and someone's got a computer science degree, yes, that is great. You know, that person's done a great achievement going to university, getting that degree, whatever it's in. You know, we've got a few people at course who law degrees or and like that. There's a lot that comes with somebody who's gone and got a degree, that hard work, that determination, everything else.
Yeah.
But equally, the people who haven't gone and got a degree have so much to offer as well. So if somebody sent their CV through and there isn't a degree on there, doesn't mean they're not going to be interviewed, they're not going to get a job. You know, what I would look for in those interviews is the curiosity that they might have, because you can teach, you can teach skills, but it's very hard to teach somebody to have the right attitude and aptitude and curiosity. So with them, I might be like, what do you do in the evenings? And they say, oh, I tinker with an interactive lab. Boom, great. Let's keep
Love that.
So
Yeah.
you know, a degree on a CV, yes, it's a great strength, but also there's a lot of other things, and that's a great thing about tech. You don't have to have had that computer science degree or other such things.
Yes, definitely. And having that varied workforce as well, with people that have degrees, traditional backgrounds, and those that don't, that can only strengthen your team and how they all work together as well, and their different experiences, definitely. So it's a very wise move to bring in those different people as well, to help
Yeah.
each other. And you mentioned there about curiosity, and you value curiosity and attitude over the technical skills. What does that look like in practice when you are hiring or developing people? What does that kind of look like for you at Chorus?
So hiring, so it's tech moves so quickly, as we know, and it's great if you've learned something and you've got those skills and you've got certain qualifications. But before you know it, you need the next one. So it needs to be somebody who's really hungry to know more, someone who's very curious, somebody who wants to know the next thing, who isn't afraid to learn, ask questions. And that's where culture comes into it. You have to create a culture where people do feel confident to put their hand up, ask a question, challenge something. Think about what else that they can do. If you just hire people and put them in a box and keep them stuck in a lane, then you're not going to really grow as a business. So it's trying to find those people who are comfortable enough to be willing just to go, but what about this? Or why don't we try that? So those qualities are really important.
Yes, we had a conversation on here about psychological safety in the workplace, and exactly what you just said, asking questions or feeling like you can ask questions at work is the key there, because apparently people will not speak up if they don't believe change is possible. They kind of just think there's no point in me asking, there's no point in me speaking up. I know nothing will change. I've had enough. I'm literally just going to find an exit route from here. So having that psychological safety at work where you can speak up and challenge and be in an environment where you can test and get to the end of the year and think, oh, well, you know what, we tried so many things and look how far we came and what we learned from each of those experiences, makes such a difference to your mental health in the workplace and whether or not you stay at a company as well. Because it's one thing being interviewed and getting into a company and you working on that company culture and building that team, but retaining the staff as well. That is something else, where how they feel when they come to work every day. It's a little bit more than we always say on here, a Slack channel. We launched a Slack channel for our women in tech. Oh, well done. But how do they all feel when they come to work every day? It's something very different.
Yeah, that is really interesting.
That leads into building that company culture from the ground up as well, because when you are starting to do that, it's things that need to be built into the DNA of the culture, obviously. So where should leaders start, and what mistakes do you see companies commonly making?
Or building the culture.
Yeah.
Words.
Yes.
Just words.
Just words. That's it.
You know, I have people going, culture is just critical to our business. And I'll be like, oh, okay, yeah. well, and they're like, yeah, it's really important. And I'll say, well, what's your business values? And you can see board of directors being like, isn't it? And I'm like, culture's not critical to your business, is it? Because you don't even know what your values are. You don't know what your behaviours are. You don't know the identity of your business. You want diversity. Why do you want diversity in your business? Why is it important? People can't understand that diversity, it brings innovation, it brings growth, it brings stability, it drives engagement and performance outcomes, staff retention, it shapes that customer experience. All of those things is culture, and diversity is a massive part of that. And leaders who don't understand why diversity is important now, so if they don't get it, they're not going to get those outcomes. But they do get in, like, okay, well, what are you going to do? Because if you really understand that diversity is important, what are you going to do to drive diversity? Are you going to put a maternity program in place so that people can come back from mat leave and feel safe and comfortable, or go off and feel safe and comfortable? Are you going to be accommodating to when their children just go into nursery? And we all know children, when they first go into nursery, are sick. Everybody, the whole family's sick for the first 3 months. The children pick up every single germ under the sun. Are you going to be accommodating to that? Are you going to allow them to look at their shift pattern, that they can pick their children up from nursery? You want diversity, so you got to get different people, different cultures, different religions. Okay, well, so if you understand that, then are you putting a prayer room? Because where are people going to pray who have certain religions that require them to go and pray, or require they need and want to pray? So have you put a prayer room in place? You understand that with diversity, you've got different neurodiversities. What have you put in place to support those people? Is there something downstairs where they can get an outlet? Have you got a relaxation room? There's all these different things that has to be put into place. But if directors really do understand, businesses understand how important culture is, and they'll understand how important diversity is, and it's not just words, because there's things that they have to do to make sure they support implementing different people to come into the business and supporting them.
Yes, I love that. I love everything you just said, because also you framed it as well with it, leaders having to know, and that it needs to trickle down from the leaders. Because if you see the board of directors who are male and they're leaving early to go and pick up their kids, that trickles down to everybody else as well. It's not just we write it on our website, we actually see our own people doing that from the top, and other people feel more confident blocking out their calendars and doing what they need to go and do. But like you said, it is so much more than words. And we get to see a lot of that with the difference in some of our partners, because companies that say, oh, well, we send out one tweet on International Women's Day and that's kind of all we've been doing, and it's like, that's not going to improve anything. So partners tend to work with us as well when they're like, we really want to be doing other activities and things. And it's kind of companies realizing that it is something that you need to make an effort in. Like what you just said there with the culture, it's making an effort. It's not we ticked a box, we put our logo on something, we attended one expo 1 year and we haven't done anything since, and got that visibility, and that's that. But it is an ongoing effort. And when people work with us, they work with us and lots of other networks to make sure that there's lots of different things going on throughout the year. But I love it, because everything that you just said is you have to make a conscious effort. It's not something that's just done by magic. It's just we did one thing and that's it.
It's a lot of hard work. You've got to care, and you've got to give it the attention, and that's to all the different diversities, to the female in the business, to the men in the business, that they also feel that they can go and pick the children up and do various different things. To supporting Pride is not about just 1 month of the year. It's not about Black History Month. It's not about just those particular initiatives. Those are great because it raises the awareness, but it's about all year round that people feel supported, they feel like they've got a voice, they feel comfortable to ask. Everybody should be able to ask and to challenge. So it's really trying to get leaders to go, yeah, this isn't about a day, and like you say, International Women's Day, it should be all the time. What can we do to support more women? Women shouldn't have to feel embarrassed about when it's their period and having to hide their handbag and go to the toilet. Put some sanitary products out.
Yep.
So put in the ladies' toilet. So it's showing that you do care and you actually do want it. And the outcome of that, it's proven by 25%, you will improve productivity. If the culture is good, it will improve the outcome by 25% for those teams who turn up to work happy, motivated, positive. But to achieve that, it can't just be here, have a beer after work or something. You've got to put hard work in. It's the day to day. And when people feel valued and noticed and safe at work, then they'll really feel the culture. And then, that's where we start getting the results. So it's, people think, oh, it's just because it's nice. It's like, no, it's a business initiative in itself as well.
Yes, because the cost in finding and training new staff as well, if you have a high turnover, that's very expensive. So it actually helps you as a business and works in your favor to not keep having people come through that revolving door. If you can find a way to have a culture where people want to stay, or even some companies are really good at when people do leave, because people do leave and they want to go on and try something new. There are some companies where you hear everybody comes back at some point, and that's always nice when you hear that. There are certain companies that are like, oh, I've dipped in and out of that company many times because I've always had a good experience there. Unfortunately, though, there are many companies where people say, I got out of there alive and I will never be coming back.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame, but I guess it builds our resilience and our experience. And like you said at the very start of this, what experience did I have that got me to where I am? And I had some of those experiences, and I learned that's not how I would do it.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So you can build that into your culture. Um, we talked about values a little bit, and making sure that leadership at least know what their values are. How do you go about defining your company values at Chorus, and how do you ensure they're actually used day to day rather than just written down?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So when we went about doing our values, to me it was important. It wasn't just going to be me shouting at the top, you will be honest. Things like that. That's not going to happen to anyone. So myself and my head of marketing, we sat down and we put together a bit of a workshop for the whole business, from the founders, the directors, to the cleaners, to everybody at the time, and got people just to use words, what they liked about Chorus, what they didn't like about Chorus, what motivates them. And then we started to find trends across the business, across different departments, of what the core was of Chorus and how people felt the behaviours were and what they liked and what they wanted it to be. So we made sure the values were built around the different personalities within the business, and how we wanted to move forward and working with our mission statement. So then embedding the values, it can't be a one-off thing. This is what the values are. It's got to be, we've got to live and breathe it, so everybody can bring ideas forward. And that's our, it's our champion the truth. How's it going? What do you like? What don't you like? What's working? What's better ideas? What have you seen? Champion the truth. Always champion it. There will be embrace the future. There's another one of ours. Okay, let's move forwards. What else can we do? What's the next thing that's happening with tech? So there's various different things. So if anyone wants to bring a suggestion forward, what value do they put it underneath? If we're having a meeting, what value does that come under? We're doing an initiative. Is this an enjoy the journey? Which is one of our values. So, okay, we're going to have a summer party. This is around our enjoy the journey. So we refer back to them all the time. So of course they're on our marketing materials, but they're also, we talk about them in our meetings. We have them up around everywhere, so it's being reminded. But I've had people come back to me and go, well, under stay curious, can I ask, da, 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 da. So they would challenge me under a value, which is just so healthy. So, but again, that has to be led by me, making sure I'm talking about it a lot. The exec team are referring to them. And I love it because I'll walk around different meeting rooms and I'll see the values up on a PowerPoint, talking to a client. Our customers, we talk about them. It is who we are. It's our behaviors. It's how we go about working. different departments see them slightly differently in some ways. So the developers see them slightly differently to maybe the cybersecurity analysts, etc. So all of it has the same message, but some departments use them how they feel that they should be used, which is lovely.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, actually. Yes, different departments will view them differently. But as long as, like you said, they're not written down and just completely forgotten about until somebody realizes and dusts off a website years down the line and thinks, oh yeah, we did have those values. It makes sense, and to make sure that everything fits into those pockets. I love that, especially things like you talked about embracing the future and thinking ahead all the time. That is something. When I've been at companies that are always thinking ahead, you become so much more loyal and enjoy, and like you said, enjoy the journey and all of those things. You end up staying a lot longer, enjoying your job. It makes such a difference to actually be in a culture where that is encouraged, rather than just thinking. I'm going to stick out a year here because it will look bad on my CV if I don't at least stay for a year. But I feel like that the companies that I've been at where I've done that, they've got so much more out of me as an employee because I've just felt like I've had a lot more freedom as well at that company.
Yeah, yeah, it's true, isn't it? It makes you want to stay, it makes you feel value the business, and people want to be part of a community. I tend not to say part of a family because I see it more as like a sports team. Maybe that's my sports background. But
I love that. Yeah.
we all want to win the game. We all want to win it. So we've all got our different positions and everything like that that we have to do, and we have to work together. There's nobody in the business that we don't need. Everybody is needed. Everybody knows what they're there to do, and everyone can put ideas forward. People who feel the culture and are part of the business, they can be like, well, let's do this, let's do that, let's push forward. So it's making sure that everybody really does feel like they're part of the future goal. And then you feel part of a community and part of a team, which I think, that's a lovely feeling.
I love that you said sports team. I have been at companies where they've said family, and it is almost a bit like, that's a bit strange. But having a sports team is, yes, you're all working towards that goal. You all want to win. Like that's such a great way to frame that. Um, so I wanted to ask you a little bit about remote and distributed teams as well. Obviously, since COVID, that has been a struggle for many companies, but we've all kind of got used to that now, and a lot of people are more productive as a result. However, remote and distributed teams can struggle with connections. So, what have you found works best to maintain a strong company culture when people aren't physically together?
Yeah, so I mean, firstly, I'm a strong believer in people being in together, a hybrid working model. But we do have a department, our cybersecurity department, which is fully remote by design, and that has been a real focus. So the ones in the office, there's a lot that we do, making sure there's times when they're coming together, collaborating together in person. But when they're remote, it's very different. A lot of the people who are the fully remote roles are possibly people who actually quite like being fully remote, but it's still a way to try and go, okay, how do we make everyone feel like they're part of the team, they're part of something? And it's trying to make sure we give as much focus to it as possible. The number one thing is not to go, I've got the answers.
Yeah.
What to go, this is how you do it. Because I'm not that person. I'm not a person who would choose a job that's fully remote, because I'm a person that needs to be around people. So it's first of all understanding that there's a different diversity there. So
Yeah.
who am I to sit and go, this is how you do it? Because I don't know. And that's I think that's a really key thing, is you stop and you listen, spend some time with those people, understanding who they are. Otherwise, they're going to get a white middle-aged woman's idea of fun. Right?
Yes.
A team of cyber analysts do not think that is a fun thing to do, or I might think is a fun thing to do. So it was a matter of really stopping and going, what do you like doing? What interests you? And you don't want to force them to have to suddenly be present and do certain things. And hey, this is forced fun, because that's not the right way for them. It's how to do gentle things and things that they might find interesting. There's small things like in the mornings they have a stand up, so they have a quick 10-15 minute meeting every morning. Videos are on. Hi, see the whites of each other's eyes, have a nice little chat, what's working, what's not, what you've locked on. Now that's already, it's just 10-15 minutes, but it creates a connection. It also creates that team feel of, this is the focus for today, this is what we're going to do, this is what is the outcome. Anyone stuck with anything is given that bit of drive. The next thing would be making sure people have got clear, understandable KPIs, because then they feel part of a goal that they're working towards. I do company updates where video of me talking about what's going on in the business, which includes all the departments. Then they will feel a little bit more involved in other departments as well. We try and do cross collaboration activities within the business. So it might be, I don't know, if we're doing a fundraising or volunteering or a new ED&I initiative, that we make sure that we've got people from each department. So again, make them feel slightly less isolated. Team meetings, they sometimes do, the fully remote people do a online kind of escape room kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
They go in and they escape the website or something like that. And they love that. So again, that wouldn't be, I would probably never come up with that idea, because my diversity is a completely different diversity. So it's listening and going, what is it you would find fun and interesting? What do you think you could do to be involved more in the business? How can we share our culture more with the people who are fully remote? But you've got to get those people involved in the meetings, and not to think it just sits with the board or the exec team to have the answers. You've got to bring those people in, which is why we have a fundraising committee or an ED&I committee or a social committee. So we've got a good diversity of different people in different roles, and there's a little bit of ideas from everybody.
Yes.
On top, we have employee feedback surveys. So it can be anonymous, or you can put your name down. I'll have one-to-one discussions with people. Obviously, you've got your usual one-to-ones with your managers. So lots of touch points, and different types of touch points that would suit everybody. I went off on one then with lots of things, sorry.
No, that's brilliant, because it is, like we've kind of touched upon in this, there isn't one thing that is going to be your silver bullet to success either. There are so many different things that make up a good company culture. And the fact that even at the start you said about different things motivate different people, and that is the beautiful thing about diversity as well. So listening to people about what they would like to do, or how to get the best out of someone as well in their working day. Because I remember during COVID, the company I was at was very concerned about the people that lived on their own at the time. I lived on my own at the time, and I remember HR being concerned and thinking, you live on your own, we need to do check-ins and we need to stand up every morning. And I was thinking, actually, it was the people that didn't live on their own that the ones that you should be concerned about, because a lot of arguments were breaking out about where people were working at home and working at the kitchen table and having children and all of those things. There was such a diversity in all of us going home and experiencing a different work-life balance suddenly. And that is still there today with people who, I've worked with loads of people who say, actually, because I have children, I like to go back into the office. I like being hybrid, because it means I have the flexibility, and I can have the best of both worlds. Whereas some people like to be at home all the time, and some people like a balance, or they like to stand up in the morning as well, because at least you get that contact with somebody. But there is such a finding the way to get the best out of people, and you must see such a difference in departments as well, and how people like to work together. Sometimes sales teams like to be around each other, and they might be up on their feet and on the phone, and then you'll get like very techie teams who like the quiet. When you work around developers, they want to put their headsets on and they want to be quiet. They don't want to be in an open plan office. So at least just listening to people is just the key there.
Yeah, because we have some teams who like go out paintballing and go-karting, and then we have other teams like, we just have a board game night. Something different. And so it's listening and not thinking that what's fun and what people want to do, but asking other people what they want to do.
What about as a company grows? Because culture can shift or even dilute. So what have you learned about protecting and evolving company culture as you scale?
Yeah, it's really challenging, and it is one of the hardest things with scaling. When you bring new people into the business, it's embedding our culture to them, and it's trying to. Some people can come in with some bad behaviours which aren't aligned to who we are as a business. So it is very hard. I mean, I try and sit with new starters when there's new people coming in once a month, sit down, do a meeting, and line out, what our culture is, why we have certain values in place and stuff like that, and how we like to handle certain things. But it's very hard, but it's why culture isn't just a one-off activity. Is constantly thinking of different ways to showcase your culture, different ways to showcase your values. Because as you grow, it does dilute down. But having a very close management team and exec team is really key to that. And keeping them engaged and on board, and moving forwards with initiatives that we've got, then that will go into their meetings. Our exec team work really hard to make sure that they're working with different teams as well, so that they help keep the cross business collaboration and awareness, which helps.
Yes, I love that. And making sure that you stay close and communicate obviously is important, because like you said, and it's an important point, some people do slip through the net, and you do sometimes find people in your company that you think maybe this isn't the right environment for you to thrive in either. And like you said, that people can slip in with bad habits, and it's how quickly management deal with that as well, to protect the rest of the team who are abiding by values and winning every day and doing what they should be doing. And sometimes it's like the team are almost looking to you to say this person doesn't quite align with our values as well, and to be very protective of what has been built for the people that are doing great things. So I agree, always staying aligned in management, and making sure that trickles throughout the company, because it can be quite difficult as you grow to remain close as well as a company, and to make sure that people don't have to know every single person, obviously, but it's so difficult when you do grow and you think, actually, did we lose that not family, that sports team?
Yeah. And it's one of those checkpoints and going, let's just check in. So in my exec meetings, we will check in our values and go, okay, what's everyone done recently towards stay curious?
Yeah.
How have we showcase his values, and just making sure that you've got at least once a quarter, you're checking in and going, have we stayed aligned to our values and what we're doing, and how have we promoted and marketed them internally recently? Yeah.
Yeah. Nicky, I could keep talking to you about company culture all afternoon, because there are so many important things that go into a company culture, and it does start from the ground up, and it's not something that you can just magically pluck out of thin air years down the line. So I could keep talking to you on this, but we are out of time. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you and picking your brain on company culture. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a great discussion, so thank you.
Thank you. And for everybody listening, as always, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again next time.